What's up, my construction entrepreneurs? Tyrone Jones here, chilling in my backyard, man. I don't get much time to chill in the backyard, especially by myself with all these children around here. But let me say this. Listen, so these last couple of videos I've been doing is really is doing nothing but adding costs to your number, basically to your number to your customer. But to be honest, the cost that's being added is the true is closer to the true number it should be. Okay. I'm only having you add a little bit here, a little bit there, just so you can get up to that level that you need to be at eventually. Right? Now when I share these added on numbers that you need to be charging for, I'm just like I said, just trying to get you to that next level slowly, right? So listen to this, check this out. Stay with me, okay? One of the bigger things with doing construction and estimating and building rates and really charging customers is understanding overhead, right? Now, I'm not going to pull out any spreadsheets on this one either. I got videos on spreadsheet. I got courses on my website on spreadsheets that will help you out, okay? And it's great. You need to have that. But check me out. So with these spreadsheets, it is very important that you understand, and they're going to help you with your numbers. But overhead. Overhead is very important. Now let me talk to you how important overhead is and why you need to include a little bit of percentage. Here it is. I'm adding that little bit more percentage to your number, which you should be charging. Because when I tell you, when after this video is finished, you'll realize, like, yeah, I am losing that money there. So when you actually start working out your overhead percentage, right, which is charged to every job, you'll be able to cover a lot of things that you cannot cover for the job. Now, what I mean by that is this: there's a direct cost and there's an indirect cost. Okay, so let's break this down. Direct cost means a charge that you can give directly to the job. Okay, that's a direct cost. An indirect cost is a charge that you have, but you cannot charge to that job. Like, let's say you have a skill saw, right? Say you have a skill saw, and your skill saw goes out, and you have to go and do this job, right? And it's still, that skill saw costs you, I don't even know how much a skill saw costs nowadays. Say the skill saw costs you, I don't know, 130, 140 bucks, right? Well, technically, you're not supposed to charge that skill saw to the job that you're doing. You're actually supposed to charge a percentage of that skill saw to that job. Why? Because that skill saw is not going to be left on that job. Right? Now listen, you charge, let's say you're installing screws, you charge all the screws to that job because that's a direct cost. That screw will be left there. Right? It'll be in the drywall, it'll be in the wood, it's going to be left there. Right? Your tools, you're going to be taking with you. So you're only using a portion of those tools. You're only using those tools for that particular project. So it's not right for you to charge a whole tool to a project. That tool should be charged a little bit here and there on each project. Okay, which you can, while you're small, you can include that charge in your overhead, so you can make sure you get that little bit of money that you need to get in case you need to go rent a tool, in case you need to go buy a tool. You have a reserve for that. Okay, it's no different from me telling you need to charge for your vehicle when you work in these projects, because eventually your vehicle needs oil changes, tune-ups, tires, right, air filters, rotors, right? Spark plugs. I don't even think new vehicles have spark. I haven't even worked on my vehicle, so I don't even think it has spark. I don't know. So anyway, I used to work on vehicles. My older vehicles before had spark plugs. I don't know if these ones have spark plugs. But anyway, it still need maintenance done to it. Brakes, tires, rotation, right? Cleaning. Still needs that type of work done to it. Truck, car, van, I don't care what it is. So, so you got an indirect cost and then you got a direct cost. Another thing in the indirect cost is the time that you take that you're driving around to get to these jobs. Who's paying for that? Who's paying for that time? Who's paying for that vehicle use time? Who's paying for that gas? Or what about the time that you take to go estimate a job? Those free estimates that we always give. Who's covering that? Right? So if you add up all the time that you spend, let's say every day you go and look at a job to estimate it, right? The gas, the time involved in that entire week, every day, who's paying for that? You're not gaining that back on those jobs. You're not putting that extra time in those jobs when you bid to them. Maybe a small percentage of you are. I don't know. I know when I was originally doing it and I was starting out, I wasn't doing that. I was missing out on all that. And then I wonder why I wasn't making as much, because I still had to pay for those things. Still had to pay for the car. Still had to pay for the gas. I still had to pay for those things. Right? Still had to pay for the paper. Still had to pay for the printer. Right? Those things I used to create these bids. Still had to pay for my cell phone. Right? So you have to figure out what your overhead percentage is. I don't care how small you are. You got a cell phone, you can put that on your overhead. Your vehicle, if you have a vehicle, you have a monthly payment, that needs to be on your overhead. Right? The fuel that you spend, that needs to be on your overhead. Now listen, this stuff will not stay on your overhead as you continue to grow. If you continue to grow, then you can actually charge your vehicle and the gas per job. Okay? That stuff. Okay? But your cell phone stays on there. Your insurance, part of your insurance needs to be on your overhead. A portion of your house that you use for your office, I don't care if you don't even have an office set up. Okay? If you're using the Wi-Fi, you pulling energy from there, that's your office. I don't care. Okay? You need to get a percentage of that charge. You need to be able to cover a percentage of that charge. And this is what overhead comes into play with. The great thing about overhead, and that's why everyone needs to go to my website and buy this $4.99 course. It's $4.99. You need to go over there and buy. There's other courses for $24.99, $25. You need to buy it. But the course for your overhead is, and you get the spreadsheet with it and teach you how to fill it out. I have a video on it, everything. It's in depth. You need to get that. And when you fully understand your overhead, it will even tell you what you need to achieve for your revenue for that month. Basically, if you got your cell phone bill on there, you got your gas that you estimate that you spend on gas, just driving around every day. If you can't charge your vehicle and gas to a job, we're talking about the vehicle and gas outside of being able to, when it becomes an indirect cost. When you're driving around looking at jobs, driving around trying to chase materials that you need to get samples for to even win the job. Okay, I'm talking about those times. So you should be charging your time and gas and your vehicle per each job. Okay, you should have a little bit of time in there that you estimate that you'll be using your vehicle and your gas for that particular job. That should be charged directly there. Okay, and your time. But there's an indirect charge that we need to capture so we can understand that we need to figure out the percentage so we can understand the money that is costing us. Once you add up this number, then you'll realize how much it's costing you, and then you'll realize that when you made that $2,500 at the end of the week, right? And then you made another 2,000 that next week, and then you made $600 that next week, and then at the end of the month you're supposed to all that up, supposed to add in, and you realize you only got $300 to your name. You're like, where did everything go? What did I, what in the world did I spend this on? Well, there's costs that you accumulate that you're not charging for, that you still have to pay for. And a lot of times, as a small contractor, we don't acknowledge it because we consider it part of the norm, or we consider it a charge that we cannot give to our customers because they will not be our customers anymore. That's another thing. Sometimes the hard thing is some of those customers that you have now are not your customers because they would never pay you for what you're worth. Let that sit. Some of the customers that we have now are not your customers because they will never pay you for what you are worth. We be out here busting our tails, cleaning up. Dude, I remember this one house that my partner land, and I was doing some work, and this house was so nasty. The area that I was working in was cleaner than the whole entire house. I cleaned my area, but it was so dirty, like already, that I had to clean everything else. And I left that stuff spick and span, but that house was so nasty. But that's what we do, right? We clean up after ourselves. We take care of, we make sure things are nice and taken care of. Listen, you have to figure out a way to get paid what you're worth. I don't care how you figure it out. You need to figure it out without adding extra duties and costs and, to the point where it's going to break you. Okay. You need to add a little bit to where you get a little bit more. Okay. You can always add in something to get a little bit more. Okay. But it's very important that you do calculate for the things that are indirect costs that you cannot charge to these jobs. It's killing us. It is killing us. And it's called overhead. The insurance, the vehicle at a certain point, your cell phone at a certain point, your clothes, man, your attire that you're wearing, right? That stuff, man. The stuff that you got to get dirty, that stuff. Your office space, that stuff. You need to. And it's just small. Your overhead right now could be 3%. You literally can add 3% to every job, 3 to 5% to every job. Outside of the 30%, here it is. I'm now I'm up to 33%, right? Now, mind you, you can add that 3%, 3 to 5% to that job, and it won't even be a whole lot. But now you can add that without doing your overhead number. I say do your overhead number so you can know what the true number is. And then you can kind of adjust from there, right? But just adding 3 to 5%, you'll see how much you can actually get and play with that and go from there, right? And then do your overhead spreadsheet and really see what that percentage is. That percentage, whatever that overhead is, doesn't lie. It needs to be added to every job. Now, in the beginning, this is the thing that you'll learn. Get rid of that notification. This is the thing that you'll learn about the overhead is that in the beginning, it's based on what you're going to assume that you're going to make for that month. Okay, you need to assume, like you're going to say, hey, this month you're going to say next month I'm going to make 20 grand, right? You say next month I'm going to make 5 grand. Next month I'm going to make 2 grand. Whatever it is, you have to predict what you're going to make for this thing to even work. Okay, and that's the thing about the overhead. You have to predict what you're going to make until you be in a position to where you have month over month sales where you can actually say, hey, 2 years ago this time I did 2 years ago this time I did 8 grand. 1 year ago this time I did 10 grand. So hey, I got a 20% markup, or I'm making 2 extra grand or whatever it is, then you can kind of guesstimate what you'd be making this year. So right now we don't have no record, right? We don't have anything that we can actually go off of. So what you use is what you feel you may achieve that month, and that's what you go off of, and that's how you build into this overhead sheet. You build that number that reasonable number, be reasonable, that you're going to go after. Okay. My construction entrepreneurs, I'm gonna let you go with that. I'm already running into 16 minutes. I'm gonna let you go with that. Listen, hustle hard, then hustle harder, and don't forget to buy your shirt. I'm spending money to put these shirts out to advertise this. You guys need to buy your shirt. Buy your shirt and get you that overhead sheet for $4.99, and buy that other program that's going to get you somewhere too. So hustle hard, then hustle harder.